It's January 4th, 2024, and it is What Chaos. Hi, everybody. Hi, Pete. Hi, Sean.
Hey, buddy.
Hey. Big episode. Not a Bruins podcast. We got former Flyers great Jim Montgomery on the pod. An old-ass interview, I got to say. This one's kind of been in the can.
Yeah, is this our oldest in terms of, like, the one that we've sat on for the longest amount of time? Because I think so.
No, we did a Gretzky one like 6 months ago and just haven't cared to do anything with it. We're waiting till he's hitting peak popularity.
Yeah, that's true. Wayne Gretzky is, I think some people have said recently, yesterday, it might have been us, that Wayne Gretzky is more popular than he's ever been in the sport of hockey.
We are currently embroiled in controversy as a result of your comment. So he met IT. He was going to Canucks game with Nickelback. So you said he's the most, this is like, he's hitting his prime. This is the most popular he's ever been. And we got trolls and haters online. Somebody commented, might be more popular than he's ever been. Okay, tell me you don't know hockey without telling me you don't know hockey. I'll tell you what, I went back and looked up. I'm assuming this person was saying like, oh, back when he played, there were no YouTube clips or shorts or reels or Instagram, anything about him hanging out with Nickelback back then. So
that's true. And as our producer Sean made the unbelievable point, with Wayne Gretzky's media career taking off on the TNT panel, there are young people that know about Wayne Gretzky as well as all the old people that never shut up about Wayne Gretzky.
Sean, a higher percentage of humans know who Wayne Gretzky is now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not like Wayne Gretzky played in the early 1900s. A lot of the people that watched him play are still alive, and now there are more people alive watching hockey. So I think mathematically speaking, Wayne Gretzky is more popular than ever.
So he also has Hank and Biz and Liam to thank for this because those are people that have followings themselves. So if you like Liam McHugh's stuff, you're going to say, who's the old guy sitting near him? Oh, that's that dude I saw hanging with IT the other day. He must be cool. Now Wayne Gretzky's got a new fan.
Yeah, right. Like he already had the hockey community, like complete raps. All the old heads love Wayne Gretzky and they never shut up about him. But now Wayne Gretzky's got like young people clout too.
Because he's riding Liam McHugh's coattails.
Exactly.
Precisely. And I feel like he had like kind of a decade there where he kind of was out of the public eye. And so his popularity dwindled. The stocks on Wayne Gretzky are as high as they have ever been because he's going up after being rather lowly for the early.
He was known for a while. People were like, oh, like that's that Coyotes coach. Yeah, like I know him. But people forget this. He wasn't even a great coach. He didn't end up being.
Yeah, and for a while, he was just Paulina's dad. For a while, like Paulina his daughter was more popular than he was for a number of years.
So 90s, he had played hockey, video game mogul.
Yep.
He was like the Tony Hawk before Tony Hawk. Shout out Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 64 and Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98. Now he's a legend. He's on TV, and with the popularity of things like YouTube, you could still watch him play hockey. Yeah. It's not like we've lost the ability to watch him play hockey. So sorry to pull rank, user, bunch of numbers, but you're wrong. Wayne Gretzky is now getting popular. Respect Pete for pointing out that he's starting to hit his stride right now. We'd be remiss if, and I'm sorry, I was going to ask Sean's thoughts on the PWHL, but we'll get to that maybe in a little bit.
I have some.
You have some?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we got to start with the Maple Leafs because look at that man right there. Auston Matthews, number 34. Shout out Foco. Leafs come back last night to beat the Ducks. Galvanizing win? I think so. The Leafs can score a million goals, but can they win a low-scoring, grinded-out game against a tough team like the Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah, a real
Many were asking.
a real tough, grinded out team like the Anaheim Ducks.
That's one where you're like, hey, Tyler Bertuzzi, we're gonna need you to take the lead on this one.
They had to get past a shorthanded goal from Frank Vetrano. That's a big obstacle to come over.
Was that goal shorthanded?
Was shorthanded, yeah.
Frank Vetrano is killing penalties.
Yes, that was, yeah.
Holy fucking balls.
Yeah, a real grinded out Anaheim Ducks team.
I love that so much. I've just been like hovering over purchase on the Frank Vetrano like purple, very expensive jersey. I need to stop fucking spending money on jerseys. Pete and I have been too willing to go out of pocket for things on this show. We're both going to be very dead soon. But when you tell me that Frank Vetrano is killing penalties,
PK specialist,
that
just for the record, if this was a real league, that would have ended the power play.
Correct.
Okay, wait. Keep talking about. Have a side conversation or something. I want to look up the.
Pete just said correct as if he respects the PWHL.
No, I respect the rule.
Yeah.
I said I wanted the NHL to adopt that rule before the PWHL did it. So, like, technically speaking, the PWHL stole my idea for the NHL, and so I respect them even less.
Oh, got you.
Because in this podcast, we are not about stealing ideas and taking them for our own.
Everything's a
okay.
We are
I'm looking
that
up.
would never happen on the show.
Okay, all right. So you said you guys are sure that was a shorthanded goal he scored?
It was a shorthanded goal.
Okay, because I'm looking up the Ducks shorthanded time on ice, and Frank Vetrano is 8th. Frank Vetrano kills over 2 minutes of penalties a game.
Hell yeah.
213 among forwards. Let's see. He is 4th. So he is like on the like PK2. Holy my God. I love that so much. And that's not Frank Vetrano slander. That is Frank Vetrano celebration. You know what we called him, or I was trying to make his nickname back when he was in Boston?
What?
Frankie the Shooter. It just kind of sounds like a thing. He's got a great shot. That's what got him into the NHL. Nobody was like, thank God we got Frank Vetrano. Let's kill some penalties, boys. I love that. What a fucking player. What a career. I love Frank Vetrano.
And now the Ducks are just like Frankie the Shooter. Get out there on the PK unit. Let's get some shorthanded goals.
And that's Maple Leafs talk. All right, now to the Bruins. Kid, they come back. They beat the Ducks 2-1 in overtime. I did bet the Ducks to win in overtime. It was a real bummer. Oh, well. Can't stay hot forever. But Auston Matthews scores his 30th goal of the season. He's now got 30 in 35 games to lead the NHL. He is on pace for 68 goals this season, which is for real getting into like all-time great scoring season territory. He would not be, so if he scored, say, 65, which he could do, he's on pace to play 80 games, that would be the most since Alexander Ovechkin did it in 2007-08. There's only been one 65 goal scorer since 1997. And back in like up until like the early mid 90s, guys would just like break off 65, 66, 67, maybe even 70 goals. It doesn't fucking happen anymore. Auston Matthews, for as much as I get a little Auston Matthews fatigue at times, is a fucking freak.
Yeah, I mean, I said it a week or two ago, like, Auston Matthews, I believe, is the best American goal scorer. I know we make the joke
other
about
than Frank Vetrano.
Yeah, I know we make the joke about Frank Vetrano, but Auston Matthews is like the best, possibly the most talented American player ever to ever play,
and best Leafs player ever.
Yeah, I think
definitely.
So. Yeah, and so like that's not to say that he's the most accomplished. Obviously, the big pushback will be like Patrick Kane, Mike Modano, like more accomplished players who have won. But I'm talking in terms of pure talent and skill. I think that Auston Matthews is probably the best American player that has ever played. And if you score 68 goals in 2024, like you may as well have 80 or 90 goals because it's so much tougher to score.
I mean, if I'm going to say that Connor McDavid is the GOAT, which he is, when he has accomplished what the fucking Oilers accomplished, I'd be an absolute asshole if I said that Auston Matthews wasn't the best American player. Better than Kane? Yes, absolutely. Let's look at the all-time single-season goal-scoring leaders. You got Gretzky, who is now clearly at his most popular because he's being discussed on
Correct.
a show right now in 2024. Gretzky, Hull, Lemieux, Solani, Alexander McGillney, Phil Esposito. One time I met Vince Gill and he said Esposito. Gretzky, Hull, Curry. Like, look at fucking 92 goals in 80 games.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good
Gretzky's having a moment.
Pretty good for a TNT analyst.
See,
Biz could never.
You see Solani with that fake ass 84 game season. Gross.
Cheater.
Yeah,
Cutting corners.
He cheated. Teemu Solani was so good. I saw a fucking thing the other day that was it was like a Paul Correa appreciation post, and man, the NHL was different back then, but those two together, it was just they were just doing their thing, man. But I'm not like a huge like, ooh, get the single season, do this, who's he, what's he sort of thing. But 68 would put him in a tie for 18th in a single season. But like, could he get to 70? Could he get to 71 to be top 10?
I think like the more motivated he is, I think we kind of saw it when he scored 60. Like towards the end of the year, it seemed like there was a little bit more motivation to like really stack those numbers. And he was scoring basically at will. And I will say, like, the goals that he scored this season, not a lot of cheapies in there. He has a lot of important goals. Basically every Leafs comeback that you've seen in a third period and in overtime, like Auston Matthews is scoring all those goals. We talk about like guys who are capable of just taking over games when they're like, fuck this, like enough, let's just win this game. Auston Matthews is that guy.
So why don't we feel the way watching the Leafs the way, and I'm biased because I'm an Oilers fan, but like, why don't we get that like, holy shit, this is so fun and crazy feeling when we watch the Leafs? I know that maybe some people do, but with the Leafs, it's more sad, and the Oilers is a lot more like, fuck, this is what I imagine what drugs is like.
Because I feel like the Oilers embrace the chaos a little bit more than the Leafs do. Like when the Leafs do it, it's like depressing.
The Leafs also still have like that air of we invented hockey.
Yeah.
The Oilers would never fucking claim to like be in charge of anything. It's a good point. The Leafs do kind of fancy themselves like that.
Like the Leafs are
we're authorities here.
Yes,
like,
the Leafs are like the relative that shows up to the family gatherings and is dressed all nice and like drives a nice car and pretends that they have their life together when like real ones know their life is falling apart and they're just kind of holding up the act. The Oilers are the relative that shows up and is like strung out and is taking the walk before dinner, coming back absolutely bombed, and like they're just kind of letting it fly, but like really putting on a show.
Can I admit something? I heard about the walk for the first time this year. And I heard about it a million times. Does that mean that me and my cousins are all squares? Does it mean that maybe just I'm a square and my cousins are cool and smart enough to leave me out of that shit? I had never heard that before.
That is wild. That has been a thing forever.
Especially since you have cousins. Like, I don't have any cousins, and I knew about the walk.
You know, but you're
Like,
Sean's in on the walk?
Yeah.
God damn. Did you guys, I mean, we were both young non-pot smokers, so like you didn't do the walk, right?
I didn't do the walk, but even then I knew about the walk.
I had never fucking heard of it. I was going to say, like, I feel like you guys are making this up, but it would be way too big a conspiracy. So a little love for Auston Matthews. And tell you what, I'm a little more keen on watching Leafs games if we're going to get some sort of top. If we get a top 10 goal scoring season in 2024, that is like the 99 home run race.
Yeah, but like, I mean, going back to the comparison, like Auston Matthews doesn't really score goals like Connor McDavid scores goals, or like, I mean, he guess he's closer to Leon Draisaitl, but like he's not single-handedly making shit happen and being like, fuck, like 1 versus 5, whatever. Usually that's not the way he gets his goals. So I feel like that's part of the appeal of Oilers games, where it's just like whenever Connor McDavid has the puck on his stick, he can do whatever he wants and just take over a game. Auston Matthews takes like a little bit more help from his teammates, but yeah, I think it's still, you know, it's going to be fun to watch that chase.
I meant to ask you, you said that you got McDavid on good odds for the Hart back when they were struggling.
Yeah.
What were the odds you got him on?
I think like plus 240.
So it's like plus 275 now.
Really?
Yeah. So because I went to
Maybe
look
it was
at futures.
more.
I would think it has to be better than that.
I don't
because
know.
now he's the favorite.
Close.
He's the odds-on favorite.
I don't think that he ever like truly dropped off that much though, because he's
people just
still
thought
Connor
that
McDavid.
he was producing, but people just thought he was hurt and not right.
Right.
Because that's what you say about a
Let's
player
see.
when the team isn't doing well.
Connor McDavid plus 250.
Plus 250. How would his odds have gone? Whatever. We're not a betting podcast until our betting sponsorship comes through, which it should any day now.
Off the Leafs game last night, though, do have to point out and ask the question, because the question is being asked.
Is Wayne Gretzky at his most popular?
Yes. The answer is yes. The question has been asked and answered.
He should do stuff with the PWHL to get a little clout.
Yeah. He
raise his
should.
profile.
Yeah. William Nylander, does he hate the troops? Because last night during the Toronto Maple Leafs game, they played the Anaheim Ducks, which means that we heard both anthems. And I'll tell you who didn't hear both anthems. William Nylander, because he was just straight up laughing through the American national anthem. Take a look.
He's also talking.
He may as well be hooting and hollering. This guy is having a chuckle during the national anthem.
I got to say, for comparison, by the way, this is how other people stand during the national anthem. It's well behaved, nice.
Yeah, this is what an anthem respecter looks like.
Wearing the same pants and shoes that I'm wearing today, but whatever. These things are dope.
Nobody noticed.
Yeah, just anthem respecters and anthem disrespecters. In William Nylander's defense, we are pushing it with the guitar solo national anthems. We're getting a little crazy. Like the kid in Seattle was cool-ish. He was tapping a little too much, which is a little... Guitar players know that's like the way of tricking people into thinking you're good at guitar. It's an easy maneuver. What that guy was doing with the whammy bar last night, I don't know who it was. It sounded like it was like Steve Vai or something. Too much. Borderline disrespectful.
I disagree with this take for one reason and one reason only, and I feel like I'm gonna win you over here.
Oh, Jesse Larkin said, was that Steve Vai?
Nice. Yeah. I'm gonna win you over here with this one simple explanation. We have to keep pushing the guitar solo national anthems until the Jonas Brothers play at the Stadium Series so that Nick Jonas can redeem himself with a guitar solo national anthem.
That would be my fucking favorite. If you don't know what Pete's talking about, he ripped one of the greatest guitar solos of all time. Sean, I'm just fucking with you.
I was like, Sean, what?
So this will be another like why my TV work is now part-time instead of full-time. But I used to love doing that on the show. I would say like we have a clip and just throw it up. More to fuck with my co-hosts than to fuck with the producers, because the producers were very certain like we don't have a clip. He probably knows we don't have a clip. But if somebody was talking about a player or something, I'd be like, we have that. And they'd be like, oh. And then, it was some award show. I think it was like the Country Music Awards or something. I don't know why Nick Jonas was there, but they were like, take it away, Nick. And he was like, I don't even have hands.
This is...
I don't know how to do this.
You haven't even mentioned the best part, which is that you posted a YouTube video covering Nick Jonas's horrible guitar solo, and all the comments on the cover of this guitar solo are like, wow, unbelievably beautiful.
Post tabs.
Post tabs. You have the sheet music. It's the best.
That was that's on if you like YouTube Nick Jonas guitar solo cover, and then afterwards that was like the closest I've ever come to like starting something, because then a bunch of people started doing like YouTube covers of this horrible guitar solo.
And that was like before you were in like the video content creator game. That was just like for love of the game. You posted this guitar solo. It was hilarious.
I don't know if we had a word for that back then. Like we talked coming up with Jim Montgomery. We asked him like, did they ever like say the word possession when you played? Is that just like a new fucking thing? I feel like that's like we didn't have. I don't think we said like content creator 10 years ago.
No, probably not.
it still feels a little weird.
My question with the William Nylander thing is, how does this now affect his impending free agency? Because I think you can take every American team off the list of his suitors now, because that's clearly not a guy you want in the room, clearly not a guy you want on the ice for your American-based team. He doesn't respect the troops. He doesn't respect the anthem. Why should we respect him?
And do Canadian teams now, because they're his only suitors, have to pay him more because a no-trade clause is worthless? You can't say, all right, we'll give you a no-trade clause for a little less money. Everybody knows none of the teams are going to want to trade for him. Not the ones in the United States of America.
Yeah,
so now you got to pay him more.
Six has now become the Canadian six.
He said, hey, we'll give you a no-trade clause. Nice try, Flames. No one fucking wants me.
Exactly.
William Nylander to the Flames, by the way. Make that happen.
Hell yes. No, the Nylander, we actually do have like a William Nylander contract negotiation update, because this week, Ryan Whitney said on Spit and Chicklets that he heard, didn't report this himself, but said he heard that the Leafs offered William Nylander 8 years and $11.25 million annually, which is basically, I think, the exact same contract that David Pastrnak got. But William Nylander is not accepting that deal yet because his dad wants him to push for more money.
If you don't know who that is Bruins and, to a lesser extent, Capitals legend Michael Nylander, who was a fucking awesome player. I was telling you guys before the show, a Michael Nylander jersey is like one of my white whales. But Elliot Friedman takes that Whitney, don't say I'm reporting this report, and essentially says, like, yeah, now that the family thing has been mentioned, that's kind of what is going on. He says on 32 Thoughts, this is a unique negotiation because of Michael Nylander. Honestly, I feel gross writing it because I hate bringing up family when it comes to this stuff, but it is a factor in why everyone is so careful in discussing where things stand. He plays a major role in these conversations, and William is very loyal, as you would expect. Again, the key principles are not talking, but there's definitely feeling this will get done fast if there are 4 important yeses: team, player, agent, and family. I gotta say, 11.25, 11.5. I know that he's having a monster season. That is huge money. Not necessarily for the Leafs, because whatever. Fucking Leafs, throw your money around. You're gonna be so screwed once Auston Matthews is up anyway. So I guess try to continue your franchise while you're able to do it. If this becomes a Johnny Gaudreau situation and he ends up leaving, goes, signs a 7-year deal with somebody else, is he getting $11.5 million?
Probably, because cap's going up.
Cap's going up.
Cap's going up. Teams are dumb. The Chicago Blackhawks have an infinite vault of money that they can throw at Nylander.
I want so badly for the Capitals to sign him to 2 years.
The Capitals?
I'm sorry, the Capitals. I got Michael Nylander on the brain. I want the Blackhawks.
Like, he is under 35 years old. The Capitals are not interested, Bucko.
I want the Blackhawks to sign him to 2 years times like 12.5.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. And then just be like, we're going to give you all the money that we're going to have to give Connor Bedard in 2 years. And who knows if the lottery ends up being lucky for the Blackhawks again. They get Macklin Celebrini, and then they're off to the races.
I just love that there is yet another Toronto Maple Leafs big impending free agency sweepstakes that is being impeded upon by a player's father.
Dad.
Because Paul Marner and that whole saga with Marner was wild. And now that it's sort of repeating itself allegedly with Michael Nylander is amazing.
I mean, our dads having a moment.
Dads are absolutely having a moment.
Boy, dads just fucking everything up.
Got to be why Adam Fantilli's dad was just like, I'm going to get some FaceTime with this GM. Gotta get out ahead of it.
Oh, yeah. What do you think? Yeah, he's like, all right, so before you even think about it, $18 million a year. I'll tell you what, some of the things we've seen from...
You think that after this year, Maple Leafs are just going to cancel their dad's trips from now on?
Oh.
Imagine players coming down for breakfast and and William Nylander seeing Michael sitting down with Brad Treliving and being like, "Oh fuck, god damn it."
Should we do? No, I mean we shouldn't even joke about players' families, but like a ranking of teams at risk of being franchises at risk of being ruined by their players' dads.
Yes. I mean, it would be Leafs and then literally everybody else miles below.
Avalanche.
Oh, true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
You got dads talking shit.
That's right. I forgot about that.
You know, it's a cute one though. Grizzlick's dad.
True. Like Bruins are being helped by team dads.
I mean, they basically have Matt Grizzlick because his dad worked for the team and they were like, yo, let's get his kid.
Yeah,
Good player.
Dads in Boston seem to help bring their kids to Boston. So, never know.
All right. Well, speaking of Boston, we do have Jim Montgomery today. As I said earlier, this one was in the can for a little bit. We got it at the CCM house when CCM was nice enough to host us. They were like, come on, we'll give you stuff. You can skate around. Sean got some incredible footage of my prowess. I was better than the children who were out there skating. I don't know if we have the video, but in case we don't, I was a lot better. I flipped a puck over the glass to Sean. That was a cool moment. Skated with Jeff, all these fun things. But also Jim Montgomery was there. And we were kind of hounding him. We felt bad. We were like, it was early enough in the show where we were like, if we want to do this, and this is going to be like our full-time job, we can't let an NHL coach be hanging around us and let it slip through our fingers. So he was very nice. He was with his kids and he brought his kids up and we interviewed him. He was amazing. We had a lot of fun with him. But I say that all to say, because this is old, Jim Montgomery has done interviews since, such as this morning when he was on 98.5 The Sports Hub in Boston and said that this year he will rotate his goalies. Remember that being a pretty controversial thing last year. He played Linus Ullmark in the first 6 games of the first round. Ullmark was not amazing, let in 4 goals in 3 of his 6 games. Most importantly, had a treacherous giveaway in, I want to say, game 5 that it's
more or less gave away the game.
It sounds dramatic to say like cost them the Stanley Cup, but
guys, yeah, that sounds quite dramatic. Gave away the game. And
possibly gave away the series, and then a little like lowercase p possibly gave away the cup, right?
Sure.
Do we have Linus Ullmark nothing for pussies drop?
Yeah, sure.
But today he said, I think you got to learn from the past too. Last year I made a mistake by not doing that in the playoffs, and I think that we as an organization evaluate everything. When you have 2 goaltenders and the demands of the playoffs are much more strenuous mentally than they are physically because you're only playing every second day, it's not like the regular season. However, mental demands are significant. If you know you can have a day off to get a breather, reset, refocus, and bring your A game again, I think it just behooves us to play to our strengths. And it's an interesting topic because historically, this is not what you do. Teams that rotate goalies in the playoffs are considered like losers waiting to happen. I always go back to when I was a kid, Ron Hextall and Garth Snow, the rotation that the Flyers did. Everyone was kind of waiting for them to fall off because if you have 2 goalies, you don't have one sort of thing. Last year with the Bruins, I was so all in. This is not revisionist history of play both goalies.
Yes.
They're both awesome. It's one thing if like, shout out Scott Darling, where like you've got 2 goalies who aren't world beaters, where you have Scott Darling and why can't I remember
Corey Crawford?
And Corey Crawford. Where like,
people are gonna kill you about that Corey Crawford.
I know Blackhawks fans get on me for that. Where like Corey Crawford was, I think, Corey Crawford
was clearly the starter.
Right. But I'm saying like very good, not great. And Scott Darling, who in his own words is the greatest backup goalie ever, where there's like starter, goalie. You don't want to necessarily be rotating that. You'd like for one of those guys to take the job. Linus Ullmark is a Vezina winner. Jeremy Swayman is like what? A top like 10 goalie in the NHL?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's a different story where you have 2 dogs.
Yeah, but I also do think that like the clear-cut starter backup thing is becoming more blurred in today's NHL. Like running two goalies and having a solid tandem is becoming more and more of a priority for a lot of these teams because they are seeing what happens to goalies down the stretch in terms of getting exhausted or just like kind of needing to switch things up. Think of how many recent Stanley Cup champions have had to run out multiple goalies in their cup run. And the percentage is pretty high. There's just very few guys you see in the league now that are like, quote unquote, workhorse goalies. And I would say like there's maybe a handful of them. And I don't think that many of them have won a Stanley Cup.
Yeah. I mean, the bell cow thing, I don't want to say is totally over. Shout out Connor Hellebuck. But like, that's not the way that you do it anymore. And if you have to end up spending over $12 million on goaltending between two guys, if it means you always have a really, really good chance to win the game because of your goaltending, absolutely do it. A lot of things change. Like back in the day, they used to not start quarterbacks when they were rookies. So like you would have, I don't know, I mean, Patrick Mahomes did sit his first year, but like you would have like these like all world talents that are so much better than the guys you have. And you're like,
you got to protect them.
It's just not what's done, so we don't do it. Now, especially if I feel like young goalies are becoming more of a thing where it doesn't take 100 years for a goalie to be good. It doesn't.
And you don't really need to be eased into it. Like you don't need to be sheltered into a starting role.
Right. Like you've learned from the Flyers that you can burn out.
Take care.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't burn out a young goalie, but if the guy's good, yeah, sure, have him split time with somebody.
But and like especially for like in the playoffs for a team like the Bruins, playing both goalies is not going to throw that team into disarray in a series. They've been playing with that rotation all year long. It's like it's more so business as usual than what they did with Ullmark last year, which is okay. We got the same goalie for 6 games, and he wasn't good. That threw them more into disarray than anything because they were getting all the saves the entire season. So like, just stick to what works, and I believe that that's what Jim Montgomery says that he's learned.
And you still feel out the situation. I know a common, I think, pretty straw-man-y counter argument is, okay, so if you're down in a series and your goalie gets shut out in game 6, you're going to go to the other guy for game 7? Like, no, it's not. Like, a rotation isn't 1-1-1-1-1.
Right.
You still go. I mean, the Bruins don't rotate their goal, and they're like the rotating team. They don't do you get one, you get one, you get one. Like they'll feel it out by if a guy's playing well, okay, you give him another game.
Right.
So,
the rotation is basically just you are both going to play. And that's what it is. And so you don't necessarily have to alternate every single game.
well, I'll tell you what, we've been eating and drinking great, and it's because of Factor. I saw that you brought in a meal. What did you bring in? You brought in some vegan whoosy whatsy?
Yeah, it was one of the vegan ones. I don't know exactly what it was. I didn't even look at it before I grabbed it out of my fridge, but I did have one of those Factor shakes this morning, the smoothie. I had a Factor smoothie, had it on the way to the gym because I needed a little bit of, I'm not to brag, I'm a morning gym guy now. I've just started doing that, and I've discovered that I need a little something in me. I'm not a big breakfast guy. I'm trying to get my day going, trying to get to the gym as early as I can, so I'm not doing breakfast. I am doing a Factor smoothie on my way to the gym because it does make me feel like I've eaten a breakfast, gives me a little strength to throw some weights around, and I love them for hooking us up.
They are delicious. I will tell you, I am a pretty irregular, irresponsible, not great at sticking to like 3 meals a day kind of eater. I'll forget to eat for 10 hours and then I'll just like eat a sub or something. And that's why.
But you are regular because
I'm regular because of
our other friends.
Of Olipop. But for those times, I am very much indebted to Factor because I do grab those smoothies all the time. And that's like a good way of, look, you forget to have whatever meal, or like you're in the zone, you don't feel like getting up and making a meal or whatever. Their meals are super easy. You just pop them in the microwave. They
2
taste
minutes.
like real meals, but especially those smoothies. I am crazy about them.
Yeah,
So head to factormeals.com/whatchaos50. Use code whatchaos50 to get 50% off. That's code whatchaos50 at factormeals.com/whatchaos50 to get 50% off. featuring the wonderful children of Jim Montgomery. Here is Jim Montgomery. We're at the CCM house, and we've been accused of being a Bruins podcast. So joining us now is Flyers center Jim Montgomery. Jim, how are you?
Not only Flyers, Stars, Canadians, Blues. That's where I played in my most games. But
yeah,
short-lived career, much longer coaching career.
But let me ask you, so as a former player, do you like that you can't get old? As a coach, you have to still be able to skate and everything. Do you want to at some point be able to kind of ease off that?
Yeah, you don't have to be really good. You just push around. Even my fat body can get her and lumber around the ice and give them orders on what we want to accomplish. But you are right. Coaches can coach for a long time compared to players can play for a long time.
It seems like basically since you've gotten here to Boston that everybody's been ready and willing to write off the Bruins and say that they're dead and say that this team's over the hill. And yet all you guys have done is basically win every game since you've been here. So what do you think is like the main reason for that?
I think, one, we got really talented players. And then two, the culture of compete and caring that our players, how much they compete against each other and they care for each other. So then when we go against other teams, we're really well prepared.
How much do you think, Chara, you weren't here for Chara, but obviously you in the NHL and coaching against Chara, you know what a leader he was. You saw what a leader Bergeron was. I think that when those guys leave, a lot of us assume that a team loses some of the leadership with it, but it seems like their generals just have fallen in line. And Marshy, we had him on, and he admitted he never thought he was going to be a captain early in his career. But what kind of leader is he? And for a group that should have lost a lot of leadership over the last couple of years, how much leadership do you think you still have?
Well, we have tons of it. And, there's a great book I've read called Built to Last. And that's where you replace the best continuance of success is others learning from others and how they were successful. So Bergie learns under Chara, and Marchie's learned under both. Pasta's learned under both, and of course we have the younger generation of McAvoy, Carlo, Grzelcyk, Swayman. I mean, there's so many others coming in line. So they're lieutenants waiting to be generals.
What's it like to coach a team with such bad goaltending?
I don't know. I don't know.
Of the guys that have left, of which there have been quite a bit, who do you miss most coaching-wise and personally?
Oh, that's a tough one to answer. Last year's team was so special. You miss Bergeron for sure, but, Foligno is someone that I personally miss a lot just because he was an added layer of the compete and care that we talk about. And, I have a special place for Krejci just because of how smart he was. I learned so much from him. And, and there's many others that we've lost. There's guys that were here just for 2 months. Bertuzzi and Orlov were really good Bruins while they were here. My biggest regret is we didn't win the cup with that group. It was a special group.
I think my favorite highlight of this season in particular, we followed you guys to Chicago, and while we were in the hallway after practice, you and Foligno chirping each other was like the funniest thing I've ever seen. It was, you were very quick to give him a chirp right back, so that warmed my heart.
He said you were giving a press conference, and he tried to imitate you saying, I miss Foligno so much, and you said if only he were a good player.
The best.
Yeah.
But he's unbelievable. And it is wild, though, that you can lose pieces like that, and other players still are there to kind of carry the torch leadership-wise. You don't want to learn lessons in a season that was as good as last season, but what lessons do you think the team did learn?
It's a good question. I think the group that was together all year, we learned, how, we got to push each other maybe a little bit harder this year. Even we're having success this year, but we can't be comfortable if we're not doing things the right way. We're going to be a little more diligent in doing things the right way all the time so that when it comes to the playoff time, we're even more refined against adversity.
We talk a lot about players of yesteryear, how they would hold up in today's NHL, and it's always fun to say, if you dropped Gretzky into this team now, what would it look like and everything. How much has just coaching changed from a coach 5 years ago to what it's like coaching now?
Yeah, I 5 years ago to now, probably not that significant of a difference. But I think the offensive portion of the game, how much it's being taught, has really developed in the last 5 years. But I would say that if you're looking at it coaching now compared to 20 years ago, I think a coach that coached 20 years ago and retired, he wouldn't know what we are doing because it's become so much more specific in every area, in the development stage and the teaching and the video usage. It's another world.
What do you think is the hardest part of being an NHL coach?
Probably the hardest part is keeping every player happy. You know, giving them roles that they're happy in is one thing, but giving them the ice time, like last year's team, we were so good, it was hard to get enough minutes for everybody. For the first line players, the fourth line players, because they were all doing what we asked them to do. And you'd like to give more minutes. You wish you had more minutes to give out.
What's the most maddening refrain or criticism that gets echoed by fans as a coach? Like, it's always something like play the kids or play this goalie instead of that goal. Again, like bad to apply to the Bruins because you have two really good goalies, but like there's certain things that are thrown at coaches all the time, and it's about play this guy more, play that guy more. Which one makes the least sense to you generally?
Yeah, probably shoot more on the power play. That one is like,
Never heard a fan say that.
you know, why don't we shoot more on the power play? It's okay.
Boston's the wrong town for that. Because like you were talking about Krejci. If anybody was good at, you know, like when people say from the ninth floor or whatever, it all looks so different and everything. Krejci would see things that even if you're in the stands, even if you have an overhead view, developing that just like nobody else is seeing. So you guys have had really patient players who will prioritize getting the right shot instead of just getting the volume of shots.
Yeah, and that's why Krejci was I was a big fan of his, is because I believe the longer you possess, the more the other team's going to make a defensive mistake, and you're going to end up with a Pasternak one-timer.
Did you even have the word, not you, like the royal you, did hockey even have the word possession like when you were playing? And all we talk about, not even the stats that are associated with it, but like it's become such a possession game. Back in the day, I feel like people would talk about you're an offensive team or you're a defensive team. And somewhere along the line, people realize like the goal really should just be to have the puck as much as you can.
Yeah, it is. But you also, you got to possess the puck, and then you got to find ways to get to the hard areas to score. So that's, I think, where the game has really developed offensively. Is people use the puck on the outside, but you watch Connor McDavid and all the elite players now, the Pasternaks, they take it to hard areas, because if you stay on the outside, the goalies are going to stop them.
The recent conversation has been about 3-on-3 overtime. Do you think that it needs to be changed, need to be fixed? Do you like it the way that it is?
I haven't researched what exactly they suggested. I don't know if it's more time or being penalized for bringing it outside the blue line. I don't know.
I think they suggested maybe like a reverse shot clock where if you're in your own zone and you're regrouping, you have to get it out and cross maybe the blue line or something in a certain amount of time. So you can't keep regrouping and taking time for the perfect rush, something like that.
Yeah, everything's worth looking at. You want the game to evolve. If we can make the 3-on-3 more about less possession and more about quick strikes, it's going to lead to more up and down odd man rushes, which is the best 3-on-3s are when there's a 2-on-1 one way, miss the net, or a rebound, 2-on-1 back the other way. Then there's a breakaway, another breakaway. That's when the fans love it. And as us as players and coaches, it's exciting too.
There was a game the other day, I forget who it was, but a team got 2 chances in a row off the face-off on 3-on-3, and the commentator said like, wow, like what a great overtime they're having. And the best part about that is like, you're not having a great overtime, because if you're getting those chances and you're not scoring, it's going to go the other way. Like overtime.
Always.
That's the best part. It's like, you better bury your chance because it's going to go the other way. Have you like maybe changed your stance or what you initially thought of it from when they started doing the 3-on-3? Because I mean, that was really kind of treated as a boogeyman initially, and
not real hockey,
right? And I think a lot of people have come around to it. Obviously, you might be biased because you have a player like Pasternak and you have the 2 goaltenders you have. So you have a group that's in McAvoy. I could go on, a group that's well positioned to play in a setting like that. But how did you feel about it initially?
Well, I think it's exciting for the fans. You got to sell the game, and I think it helps sell the skill. and the immense talent that we have in so many players and so many teams. So I think it's good for the game, and I'm glad that in the playoffs we settle it the way it's always been settled. It's a man's game in the playoffs.
Well, we'll get you out of here after this, but we love to play up the best rivalry in hockey is the Eastern Conference versus Western Conference.
Love it.
You've played in both. You've coached in both. Is there a significant difference between the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference, and do you have a preference?
I do think when I was in Dallas and St. Louis, there was a difference. The Eastern Conference was faster and more transitional, and the Western Conference was a little bit bigger and heavier, more old school hockey. And I do find, though, this year that it's starting to balance out. You're starting to see some really fast teams that transition in the West. And I'm finding the Eastern Conference is becoming more, you saw it with Florida last year, all about forechecking and stuff. And there's a lot of teams that are having success in the Eastern Conference being heavy forechecking defensive temes.
Well, Jim Montgomery, Canadians great, Flyers great, Stars great, and Blues great.
That's it.
Also enjoying
Bruins
a
podcast.
coaching career that if you want to check out, you can also see that he's doing pretty well there. Thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you guys. Appreciate having me.
What a guy, Jim Montgomery. To explain the booties, by the way, we had to wear booties when we were in the hockey house because you couldn't walk around and stuff.
Yeah, it was that interview was literally filmed in somebody's house who allowed CCM to take over their gigantic mansion in Canton, Massachusetts. But fair that they were just like, yeah, you can come in, you can have a party here, giant hockey party.
Only rule was booties.
Just wear these booties, and
Yeah.
wear the booties we did.
Yeah.
So that's the first interview we've ever conducted where we and the guest are wearing booties.
And it was also just kind of like an unprepared, just got to jump in and talk. And those are always fun ones where you don't know you're going to get an interview. Then suddenly you have one and it's like, all right, go off the top of the dome. Very nice of Jim Montgomery with his kids who you could hear laughing in the background. That was the best part of it.
He's such a nice guy. We've talked to him a few times at this point, and just every time I talk to that guy, he is so nice. We'll give you whatever time that he can give you, and answers always thoughtful. And just from all the guys that I've talked to that have played under him with the Bruins, like they love that guy.
Gracious. Shots fired at my guy, Bruce Cassidy. We get all-stars today?
I think we get the All-Star rosters tonight, right, Sean?
Yeah. Well, I know like the starters or whatever, and then
Like
fans
the
get to vote
initial
on another
rosters.
12 or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah, like the pre-fan vote portion, I believe, are revealed tonight. And my question is, like, do you care?
I will never bullshit the audience ever. I don't care about the All-Star game in general, typically. I will maybe care a little bit at the end of the season when like the real All-Stars, which that like affects their money and everything, like that I think is kind of interesting.
This affects their money now too.
That is true. But generally, I am not the target audience for the All-Star game. I think that the game itself is the least interesting part of the whole shebang.
That's true.
The skills thing I'll check out, but I also know that I can just kind of grab the highlights online and those will be everywhere. I am never like a snub guy because when you see what the All-Star lists end up being sometimes, it's so ridiculous that it's like we're really going to get worked up over this. Like Mac Jones was a Pro Bowler.
Yeah,
Like-
that's how I feel about it. I actually like All-Star Weekend. It's one of my favorite events. I just think that it's very fun. It's a party. You get guys in a different sort of state of mind than you're used to seeing them during the regular season. So I think all of that is good and I appreciate it. I guess I don't really care all that much as to who goes.
Is there anybody, I mean, I guess this makes the answer no. Like, are there any players this year where you're like, might be fun to see them be an All-Star?
Not really.
Robert Thomas.
It's not gonna like move
That's
the
one.
needle
Just be
for
like,
me.
hey, remember that time Robert Thomas was like the Blues just kind of had a weird season? Robert Thomas is, I don't know, like, will he be their All-Star? Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe.
Could be.
I don't know. I just think like more so, like I like that the draft is back, so we'll get to see guys interact more and see the return of the draft, and now like a new skills competition. But as far as like the rosters themselves, I feel like they generally get them as right as they can. And I'm never come away with like, oh my God, I can't believe. My biggest disappointment with the rosters last year was that Tage Thompson had to back out of the All-Star game because he got hurt the final game before the break, and they had to send Rasmus Dahlin in his place. Like, as a Tage guy, I was down there to see Tage, and I didn't get to see Tage. So,
Oh, you know what? I actually think I have a potential snub watch. What if Zach Hyman isn't an All-Star? He could like not be an All-Star. How many? I'm admitting I don't know shit about the All-Star game. Clearly, because every team has to have one representative,
right?
So, what's like a high number for a team to have?
The host city usually gets an extra guy or two. So like the host city will usually have 3 or 4 guys.
Okay, but so like 3 is pushing it.
Three
is
for like a non-host
really...
city is a lot.
Okay, so McDavid, we can guess will be an All-Star.
Stu Skinner.
Stu Skinner has to. No,
that's
Stu
a good way to get his
Skinner's...
confidence back up. What if the Oilers just slipped the league like $10 million?
Stu Skinner needs a hot tub for like a month. He needs just a break. He needs to fucking breathe for a little bit.
What if
we
the
said
Oilers
bell cow goalies are over? Not in Edmonton.
Oilers bribe Gary Bettman to get Jack Campbell to the All-Star game to really give him a confidence boost
and boost his stock. Be like, hey, Leafs, you want an All-Star goalie? Mm-hmm. Could be fun.
William Nylander will be an All-Star this year because the game is in Toronto, so he doesn't have to travel to the United States, which he hates so much, apparently.
Right. Won't have him anymore.
So tonight we are getting 32 players, 1 from each team. So tonight we are only going to learn 1 from each team.
So we'll get McDavid. We won't get Hyman or Draisaitl.
So this is the league doing like it's all the work that it technically needs to do.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So you'll get the 1 from each, and then the fans. At that point, it's like if your guy doesn't make it, that's on you.
Yeah.
So we can't even do like we were gonna do even like a mocking or joking thing with like snubs and everything, even though we don't care about snubs. But like there can't even be snubs tonight because it's like there had to be a guy from every team.
I mean, unless it's like Toronto, you could argue. I guess you could argue Nylander versus Matthews if you really wanted to, and then be like,
but like they're both going to.
But
be
you
there.
know
they're both
yeah.
going to be there eventually. I guess your only thing would be like, I can't believe the NHL thinks this guy on this team is better than this guy on this team. And I mean, there's some teams where I think it'll be interesting, like the Coyotes, for example.
The Coyotes is an interesting case
because their best player has been Connor Ingram, but obviously once you get into goalies, it ends up being weird. You mentioned Tage. I don't think he's going to be in the All-Star game this year. It's probably
not.
It's probably going to be the lean. So I think some of that stuff will be interesting.
This ain't a Tage year; it's a Tate year.
Yeah,
true.
That's true.
Did I chunk it getting my Oilers third jersey customized to be Zach Hyman? Because now that I'm thinking of it, it would have been sick if I just got a Zach Hyman All-Star jersey
for a guy that wasn't at the All-Star game.
Like if he's not at the
I tried to get my All-Star jersey from Florida customized so I could have a Tage Thompson jersey, and they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it because he didn't play. So I wonder if they would even allow you to throw on a guy who didn't actually go to the All-Star game.
Could you? I mean, you could cool hockey it, couldn't you?
I could, yeah.
That might be the move. We're gonna be at the All-Star game, by the way. So when we say we're not like shitting on the All-Star game, we're just being realistic about it. It's not like and as we get into planning for what we're gonna do while we're there, like basically during the All-Star game is probably when we're gonna be like resting.
Yeah, I mean for sure.
We're just gonna.
We also have big plans for the All-Star game, so we will be in Toronto.
Big plans.
We will have like a setup in Toronto
Thursday. PWHL 3-on-3 challenge.
We'll be there.
Really?
Pal.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Love that. We, I mean 2/3 of this podcast will be there.
Yeah.
I've got better things to do.
Right. Pete's gonna.
I'll come down with a case of jet lag.
Oh.
Wink, wink, wink.
I mean, honestly, to me, Hillary Knight or Sarah Nurse is far more interesting than like. I mean, no disrespect, but like Connor Ingram. I would rather talk to some of the best female hockey players in the world.
I will admit,
so like
I have
we
a
could
big
we get Sarah Nurse or Chris Kreider. As producer of the show, I'm saying, Sean, produce us, baby. We can have one of these people. There's a scheduling conflict. Who are we having on the show?
I mean, this is an NHL podcast, so you got to do like if I'm
Exactly.
actually being a
Thank
producer, then it's got to be. But like I do, in my personal opinion, like Sarah Nurse is better at her job than Kreider is at his.
I don't know, man.
I'm
Chris
a little
Kreider's-
disappointed that you went. I like my producer to fuck shit up a little every now and then.
Don't sleep on Chris
I,
Kreider.
I
Chris
want you making a
Kreider.
bad decision. I want you being like, let's be a little reckless.
I feel
NHL
like my
podcast,
job is
NHL.
to not be reckless.
Yeah, that is true. You're supposed to be like the voice of reason. You should have been like neither. We find like the 10th best.
Bedard will
find Connor
also be
Bedard.
there. Why are we talking to Chris Kreider? No
Yeah, that's
disrespect.
true.
I have a feeling that we wouldn't be allowed to talk to Chris Kreider.
Oh,
We
I
most
have a
certainly-
feeling somebody would have something to say about it.
I wonder who.
We're not allowed to talk to the New York Rangers.
Kind of getting back to your conversation earlier about like being interested in people. Like I am genuinely very interested to see how all of the guys treat Connor Bedard, especially when it comes to like the draft and stuff. Like Bedard is probably going to end up being the first overall pick.
I hope they bully him.
Yeah, so do I. Like that's what I think is going to be the vibe. Like they're going to draft him because he's amazing, but it's going to be like, "What's up, son?" Like, like it's going to be a lot of like treating him like a little boy, which I think will be funny.
That would be awesome. I
Like,
hope that
I need
happens.
him and like Ovi on the same team. Not that Ovi
Oh, it could be. Maybe.
is Ovi going to be an all-star.
Probably not.
Like, but who do they send?
Right.
I feel like they're gonna. Ovi will convince the
I
league
feel
to
like-
pick anybody but him. He
No,
hates the All-Star.
I feel
game.
like Ovi will end up getting voted in because so many fans want to see him in the draft again.
Let me see
It's a
how
good call.
far I have to go down the list of points leaders in the NHL before I get to a Washington Capitals player. Oh boy,
John Carlson scored his second goal of the year last night, so he's probably not.
I mean, I'm into the 50s right now, and not seeing anybody. Let's keep going.
It is funny. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but I just the narrative. Like at one point, we were joking, and not we. I guess a broadcast was joking about will he ever score again?
Yeah. That was famously when we were in Columbus at our bar, we saw on the TV a muted TV with the lower third. Will Ovechkin ever score again? And I'm pretty sure it was at intermission of a Vegas Golden Knights game in which
Yeah, it
the
was Golden
Washington
Knights
Capitals
Sabres,
were
yeah.
not involved. It was
Yeah,
just,
it
the
was-
Vegas intermission was just like, is Ovechkin ever going to score again?
Okay, on the list of points leaders in the NHL, 127th in the league is Alexander Ovechkin.
Wow.
Yeah, so
24 points
I didn't
So he
want to
probably
spoil,
will
but yeah,
be the
he probably
pick,
will
huh?
be their all-star.
to lead the team. I mean, I would love to see Bedard and Ovechkin. But the thing is, like, I don't want to see Bedard set people up. What I like about Bedard is that
He has to do it all himself.
he's like McDavid. If McDavid's better than Bedard, but like he's McDavid-esque with a fucking better shot than McDavid. So he's like, I'm just gonna, now that I've done all this shit, I'm just gonna score.
McDavid
Love
has more
that.
creativity, though.
Yeah.
I have a feeling at the All-Star game, especially if it's a lot of vets, they'll be like, "You do this, kid. Like, I don't need this. You go score."
Like
the
this is your moment. This is your
This
first
is
All-Star
fun
game.
to you.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore.
Do you think our boy Anthony from the Blackhawks is gonna be at the All-Star game?
I hope so.
If he is,
I hope he's everywhere that we go.
watch out. Like we're like a pretty sober podcast when it comes to like when we go, we do our work, we get our stuff, and like we try to get our rest, even though we do stay out late watching hockey and everything. If Anthony and the boys are out, I'm still not gonna be drinking or anything, but like bad time to be a fucking Diet Coke at the bar because I'm gonna be out till 4 a.m. telling stories, having a blast.
We
with the boys.
also will get to hang out with Toronto native and host of the PHNX Coyotes podcast, Leah Merrill. She will be there.
Leah's gonna be there.
Yeah, so you guys will get to meet her for the
Don't think
in
there's gonna be
person.
time, but that's awesome.
She's gonna be doing the same stuff we are.
I am very excited for the All-Star game, the stuff that we're doing there, and I will admit I did watch a little bit of the PWHL last night. I watched a little bit, watched
yeah.
the Boston debut, and I'll be honest.
Not great.
I'll be honest.
Step
Not
back.
great.
Wasn't
Oh,
blown away.
Definitely step back. Yeah.
I texted you, Sean, saying, like, this is going to happen in the beginning of anything. This happens with our show. Anything
Yep.
that is young and burgeoning, there's going to be days where you're like, wow, we're really onto something here.
Mhm.
And there will be days where you're like, we're still onto something, but
It's like
this
the,
was
it's
a
like the
step back.
XFL. I think the XFL. It's one of those things where it starts. It's never like, at least at first, it's never going to be as popular as like day one,
Right.
because it's going to be. But like, yeah, last night was not great. After, especially coming immediately off the tails of Ottawa, where the
That game was
environment was
awesome.
electric. Like, it was sold out. It set a record for a professional women's hockey game. Like, all that stuff, and then you get to Boston, Minnesota last night, where there was a lot of empty seats. Broadcast.
Yeah, that's the thing.
The Lowell thing.
The Lowell
is
thing is
such
going
a-
to bother. Like, I would be very interested to go to a game if they played at Warrior or like a Gannis, anywhere around here. Like, I for sure would be down to check it out. I'm not going to Lowell. And like seeing that they didn't even sell out Lowell in the
Which,
first night.
for the record, the Saga Center has a lower attendance than, like, a lower capacity than Ottawa. So it's not like there was just like more seats or anything like that. It was just, and I mean, let's be fair.
It's Lowell, man.
The interest in women's hockey is probably bigger in the major markets in Eastern Canada than it is going to be in the markets in the States.
Yeah, because it's
So, like-
they're like, we could be good at hockey.
Yeah, we
and
have a
on it.
chance of winning
And
something.
I think like the recognition of the stars is probably a little higher in Canada and stuff like that, especially since a lot of the women are Canadian. But yeah, it was the broadcast. The audio was off basically the entire game. Like, it was not sunk up with what was happening, like with the video. The like, no disrespect, the play-by-play guy was getting a lot of flack in the YouTube chat for his performance.
So may I ask you about the color commentator, Bridget, I believe is her name. I am invested in her being a media giant because she is the host of a podcast that is the descendant from
Sunday Skate.
from a hockey show at WEEI that Pete and I started, basically starting the modern WEEI talks about hockey.
Also, Bridget is extremely nice.
I don't
So-
think I know her.
The problem with the broadcast, I think, is that, like, she was good. The problem with the broadcast is that the play-by-play guy was kind of also trying to be a color guy. Like, they were just so, like, the complaints that the people had in the chat was like, hey, great, what's happening in the game? Like, they would go minute stretches of not talking about the game, which you can't really do in a sport like hockey.
You can't have a podcast.
Exactly.
over
It was a
hockey
lot of
game.
conversations, which is like, as far as she's concerned with color, like, she just kind of has to follow the play-by-play guy's lead. And the play-by-play guy was just doing a lot of storytelling.
Give them some time to settle into their roles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's that's what it is.
The game also wasn't good.
Yeah.
I mean, you had two absolute fucking bar down snipes from Minnesota that were beautiful. Hillary Knight got robbed of one of the greatest assists I've ever seen in a hockey game. She she just like walked the entire defense and then passed it back. The goal ended up getting called off because honestly, that was another thing. Ref called a goal that probably wasn't a goal, but the video, you could not see the puck. And they still overturned it, which is kind of like, I feel like sports 101 need conclusive evidence. Don't think they really had it. Still overturned the goal. Whatever. But
Man,
I'll tell you what. I saw that Patrice Bergeron was there supporting the gals last night, and he looked pretty good in that.
I was
in
like,
that
call yourself the
EWHL.
Boston 37s.
Yeah,
Because he was wearing a
imagine?
37, like Ottawa 67s.
He made that jersey look pretty good.
He made it look very good. I did
Yeah.
see the Pro Shop Wars
Yeah,
at Songus.
wouldn't expect it to be all that impressive.
It wasn't the best. It was what you describe. I think, is it the Coyotes, Sean? You said they're like merch.
Yeah.
They basically have like a merch stand.
yeah, they don't have like a.
So I saw the merch table, and I like the jersey is fine.
I like the green a lot.
Yeah, I wish it just had some branding on it or anything. But of all the stuff there, it was the jersey, and then it was just a bunch of like mugs that just said like PWHL on it.
I will say I was also disappointed because the goaltenders did not have custom pads today, and that was the goaltenders in the first 2 days kind of been carrying the visual identity of the league through their pads.
The New York goalie has
Hers are the best.
possibly set a very difficult bar for her peers.
I mean,
to-
I think she has the best pads in professional hockey.
Sports.
Full stop.
Yeah.
Like better than anything in the NHL. That's for sure.
yeah.
I mean, I will say, I know I'm a little biased here. Coyotes Connor Ingram has some pretty sick fucking pads, especially for when they wear their Desert Knights jerseys. But yeah, no. It was definitely not as great of an experience as I had night one watching Ottawa, Montreal. Better jersey matchup, I will say that. I do like the purple. But
I am. I'll tell you what. Like, I'm all fired up to go to the All-Star game now. Just from talking about the All-Star game for
All-Star game merch
bit.
is, and like the merch tent will be an incredible Pro
We're
Shop
going
Wars.
to. Like, I need to start like looking at my finances and set aside. Have we discussed? No, we just said we have some things coming up, but the things that we have coming up will involve Pro Shop Wars, and I want to like really set aside money for these Pro Shop Wars.
The partnerships that we're entering for the All-Star game and All-Star weekend will allow us like specialty Pro Shop War editions.
Oh, good.
Also,
So that's gonna be really fun. It's probably one of the most things I'm excited about most. Is sort of the partnerships that we're entering for All-Star weekend.
I will also say, I'm going to be vague here because I don't remember how much information you've given out. What we're doing after the All-Star game. There's obviously the obvious.
Yeah.
But there's also like the other thing.
There's two big Pro Shop Wars we can do the week after.
There's like the obvious one, but I will say, based on my experience, the other one is like kind of an insane fucking, like it's like a
mansion. It's like a hockey house.
It's like you're at a mall.
Yes.
It's like a department store. It's not a pro shop. So
I've been to I've done the thing that we're doing afterwards, and you go into that pro shop.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I want to get something for like my mom or something or my friend, and you're like, God damn.
Also, there was somebody after our very first Pro Shop Wars that sent us a DM and was like, if you're ever in this area, I got like $300 with your name on it to go to this store. And
which area is it? An area
in that area, I believe.
Oh,
so we could have a lot of Pro Shop Wars coming in the next month or so.
Question mark.
Yeah. 2
Pro Shop Wars in Toronto? Because there's obviously going to be the All-Star thing, but
That's
Toronto is presumably going to have.
We could also do a Leafs one.
One, but I don't know if you want.
We could also do a Hockey Hall of Fame gift shop Pro Shop War.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
I've thought about this, folks. We're not a Bruins podcast, but like, do we just do a Bruins one at some point? Because we don't have.
Somebody said the Bruins have like one of the best pro shops in the league.
They have a very good pro shop.
They have a very good pro shop.
Assuming I'm not giving up hope yet, but assuming the Columbus Pro Shop footage is lost, we don't have any Pro Shop Wars in the can until we go to Toronto.
So
we're gonna need to like hire another producer for like. Do we just like hire another producer for SD 2 weeks? No, I'm saying like when we go to the All-Star game,
hire a freelance
and
producer.
then go to the next thing after.
Yeah,
do we just like hire a freelance producer? Anyway, Chaos Chain tonight. Yeah. Kraken, Senators in Seattle. Kraken have won 5 straight. The Senators beat the Canucks this week, so it's a real clash of the Titans.
The bet has been placed. $20 on the Seattle Kraken tonight. They are minus 122 against the Ottawa Senators. That is 20 to win $16.39. That could be entered into the Chaos Chain bank account. But first, I guess technically the second Chaos Chain game. But Kraken Senators tonight, big game. Neither one of us have either of these teams.
What was your team again, Pete?
My team is the Montreal Canadiens. I think that we're going to draft additional teams at some point.
If the Ottawa Senators were to win, they have 4 games, but then they play the Avs and then the Canadiens.
Whoa.
So if they go on a little bit of a win streak, they could.
The Ottawa Senators going on a win streak doesn't sound like something that is very likely.
I mean, they would have to be, if they beat the Kraken tonight, they have Oilers, Flames, Sabres, Sharks. So if they get past the Oilers, maybe not that unrealistic, but and then they have,
And I'm Avalanche, you're Penguins, right?
I'm Penguins, yes.
All right. Hell yeah. Well, thanks for having a nice little week with us. All the live streaming and everything was a lot of fun. If you're listening on any sort of podcasting thing, please subscribe on YouTube. Trying to get those numbers fat,
and vice versa. If you're watching on YouTube right now, please go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Hit the subscribe button. Give us 5 stars.
Also,
all that good stuff. Leave us a comment.
I'm being told the Senators didn't beat the Canucks.
I don't. I was going to say, if you are watching this right now, hit the like button.
Yes, hit the like button.
Very easy thing to do. There's a thumbs up there. Just smash it.
Like, follow on all socials. The Senators lost to the Canucks, so this could be a galvanizing win for them.
6-3.
They did the other thing you could have done against the Canucks. So that's
I also want to say we need to get.
I didn't realize where that even came from. I didn't notice that you said Senators beat the Canucks.
We need to get the chaos chain out of the West Coast.
Disagree. West Coast, best coast.
But it's just easier to not have to stay up until 10.
I'm going to do it anyway because I'm going to the Bruins game tonight.
Well, that's true. I'm just saying in general, the longer it's in the West, the more inconvenient it is.
We have another comment that says Canucks beat the shit out of the Senators. All right, shut the fuck up. I was I got it.
They did double them
I fucked with the Google Doc. It's not DJ's fault. I threw it in there so that he would say it and sound like an idiot.
You're right. You're right. Getting me back for
Connor Bedard.
Saying Connor Bedard. What is it? Connor Bedard has 900 points.
Yeah.
Maybe. He's at an all-time high in popularity. All right. Love you. We'll have stuff on All-Star things and everything, but we'll be back with regular episodes on Monday. Talk soon. Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.